Hey, Dragonfire here, and it's time to review Hannibal Rising. Um, this is one uh, where Thomas Harris was asked to write a backstory for Hannibal Lecter. Um, I feel like um, or what I've heard about this is that he was reluctant to do it. He didn't really want to do it, but they either told him that if he didn't do it, somebody else would because they owned, partial rights to the character and franchise and all this kind of stuff. And, um, or he was just afraid if he didn't do it, someone else would, or whatever the case may be. But it was kind of reluctant on his part, is my understanding. And, um, I think it's a decent backstory for Hannibal. I went ahead and looked up the math, and mathematically speaking, the only way this makes sense for this backstory exactly the way it's told is this would have to be the backstory for the Anthony Hopkins version of Hannibal Lecter. He's the only one with his age when he first played the character and everything that lines up. Um, at the beginning of the movie, you have a kid who's supposed to be 8 years old, according to the end credits, in 1944. Um, I thought he looked maybe just a little older than 8, but they say he's 8 in the end credits of the movie. And Anthony Hopkins was turned 7 in 1944, so I guess the math is pretty close. So I guess you just have to say that, if you want this to be the prequel to Anthony Hopkins' version of the character, you have to say that he was playing 1 year older than he was in real life when he made Silence of the Lambs. Um, which is perfectly reasonable. You can play a character that's like a year older than you are, especially when you're in your, well into adulthood, your 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. So, yeah, 1 year doesn't make that much of a difference. So, um, yeah, I mean, this is a fine movie. I think that it would get a lot more people would enjoy it if the character was named something else and it wasn't a Hannibal Lecter prequel. I think people judge it more harshly because it's Hannibal. Um, uh, because it's not how they imagined the backstory of that character in their mind, which is fine. Um, but yeah, this is a fine movie. Um, I know it's one that a lot of people don't like, but I think, again, I think if it weren't a Hannibal Lecter movie, I think it would be received a lot more favorably. It's because it has that name and franchise attached to it that people don't like it as a version of the character. It's not the backstory that they imagined for the Hannibal Lecter character, and that's why they don't like it. It's interesting. It gives us the origins story of his cannibalism. Um, what kind of drove him crazy and what kind of how he became a cannibal and how he became a killer, a serial killer, um, and yeah, it's just one of those things where um, It's a fine movie. You find out he had some childhood trauma in 1944 during World War II. And um, he basically grows up and then he decides he's going to take revenge on these people. And so it's a revenge story. Like a vigilante killer who just adds cannibalism to the mix. Anyway, it was a fine movie. It's fine for what it is. It's interesting. It keeps your attention. And there are some very strange elements to it. For sure, like his kind of pseudo-romantic relationship with his aunt. Not biologically related to him, but an aunt nonetheless. His uncle's wife. So his uncle's widowed wife. Yeah. Found this movie interesting, and I don't have that much else to say about it, so I'm going to stop this review right now, and look out for my next video in this series. The next one is going to be my ranking of the franchise, all the theatrically released movies. Alright, God bless everybody. Dragonfire out.